So Patrick Ebert here with the Hitters Baseball Academy. I'm with Travis Cox. You served as the coach for the white team of the 2022 players. There's two teams. There's the Navy and there's the white. You served as the coach for the white team. I want to start with the most obvious question because it was a big deal. Last summer at the Big Row Memorial Classic, over 4th of July weekend, you coached your white team to a championship over the Navy team. Just the simple fact that both teams made the championship game was a big deal, and obviously coming out on top. The most obvious question is, how proud were you of your guys and your team to not only win, but to beat, their friends and what essentially is their teammates on that day?
Yeah, so that day, so I think it was kind of, nostalgic in a way because, Roe was, rest in peace to him. He's the reason that I joined Hitters. He's the one who kind of told me I should come up here and join the organization. So for us to win that first tournament, I was the coach of that team, meant a lot. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be where I'm at this point as a coach without him giving me this opportunity to be here. So I want to thank him on that and again, rest in peace. But for us winning that tournament that day, it goes back to, when I first got them as 15-year-olds. So that's kind of where they started to branch off into being the Navy and the white team. And, some of the guys on my team were kind of upset they weren't on the Navy and they kind of had that going on, felt they should have been on the Navy, out there was on the white, that stuff like that. So I think at that point, that was a moment where they kind of, and I think they were starting to get that anyway. That kind of established the feeling of that they can hold their own, that they as good as anybody else. You know what I'm saying? Despite Navy, white, that was kind of their moment. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Kind of like that punch in the face, you wanted us, you put us on the second team, quote unquote, but we should have been on the first team. I kind of felt like that was their moment of to establish that. You know what I'm saying? And kind of prove to them that they can hold their own with anybody else. So.
And most of these guys that have been up here already have shared that their biggest competition moments are amongst themselves. Yeah. Right? They challenge themselves and they want to see do good, whether they're playing, hitters versus hitters at the Big Row or they're in high school and they counter each other. Yeah. So, it raises that level and intensity. Just because they trust themselves to that point that there's no one they'd rather beat. You kind of feel that too, right?
Yeah. Even last winter when I was working with the guys when we was doing the live games like we're doing now, my team felt that they were going to be as prepared as anybody else. They feel like they practicing against the best team or one of the best teams in the country every week. So it gets no better. You can't ask for a better team to practice against than the Navy team. So they kind of feel like if they can hit against these guys, they can pitch and get these guys out. They can get anybody out, period. So, it kind of built their confidence up quite a bit. So that's why we kind of developed the mentality that we had. Like our staple, I felt, was our grit and our discipline. It just didn't give up in no games whatsoever till the very, very end. So if a team beat us, they had to fight till the very last out. If they gave us a little bit of breathing room, we was taking advantage of every opportunity. And I think a lot of that came from them having to fight for everything that they got, seeing that they weren't, like I just said earlier, put on the Navy team, quote unquote, kind of getting overlooked early when they was 15 and 16 with the high major schools, looking at the other guys and kind of overlooking them, and they felt they should be getting those looks too. Yeah. So it just by the time they got to being 17U and they finally grew into their bodies and developed physically, they already had that mentality instilled in them at that point. So now you combine that with the development and all that just gelled together, and then had the summer that we had. So I was proud of them just off of just seeing them, just being with them in the process. You know what I'm saying? Watching them mature physically, and I think too, more importantly, was mentally. Like I said, getting past that part. So yeah.
A little bit too. You've traveled a lot of different places with this team. Long bus, van, whatever the trips. You've been to a lot of places, and too, you learn from Wisconsin to play with a little chip on your shoulder, right? Because it's not expected for you to play as well as you do, and I'm sure you've surprised a lot of people along the way. I think you set that up perfectly just now, talking about how they already had learn to play with an edge to kind of be considered, and I even hate to say this, but they're kind of considered that B team, right?
Yep.
But you don't consider yourself a B team. So when you're out playing these other teams nationally that don't know you well, I mean, is that easy motivation to just go out there and play with a little edge? Or what do you do to set your players up so they can enjoy success in those situations?
It was beautiful because, like I said, like you just said, them having that chip, it was like to fuel them up. Like if a team started chirping a little bit, or they kind of the other team started to show a little bit of an aura. Like we fuel off that. I don't think other teams do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm like, man, they feeding really right into what I need, what we need. That they fueled off of that, which is rare. Some teams usually they'll break down. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. For us, it made us stronger, and that's very rare to find. So I would kind of use that to kind of get them going. And then, like I said, already we was in a lot of the same terms that the Navy team was in anyway. So us being the same tournament as them, and then us being quote unquote considered the second team. I think this past summer kind of it started to make sure I say erase that line of Navy and white at that point. To where, I mean, a lot of terms of something we did as good as them, if not better, on quite a few of them at this summer. So we definitely made a name for ourselves. But like teams coming from from the other states, whether it be like Florida teams, Atlanta teams like that, I'm not sure if they were aware of who was first or second, but I mean, I guess if they following names and stuff, they would know. But
yeah,
I said them coming in thinking that we wasn't the average B team. Like, but I was always tell my team that really don't matter because we in the same terms and it's still the same name on the front of the jersey. So don't get caught into that. So if they sit there and say it's somebody else B team, like, hey, we the B team too. It'd be like a joke, you know what I'm saying?
right. Yeah. Yep.
But they, like I said, it just brought light to the situation. And they just kept rolling, man. It was huge. Him having us in the same terms was huge. Cause I think it enabled and added fuel to that chip they already got.
Yeah.
So it was just extra motivation every week. So it was a couple tournaments where I remember they went home before us. So
okay, yeah.
And they loved it. My team loved it.
Yeah.
And they just escalated to another level after that.
Right.
So it's like they had two battles on their own trying to win that tournament and trying to outplay them. So it was just like, instead of getting pushed on one shoulder, like both shoulders were getting pushed to go forward, so to speak.
Yeah.
So
spend a lot of time, obviously with these players. You've been a lot of different places, as I just mentioned before. You've shared some of that.
yeah.
What's the biggest pieces of wisdom you try to impart on these players? So you can take your own experiences, and just leave with them as they are obviously all, moving on. And for the most part, their careers aren't over.
Right. I think they relate to me a lot because even my baseball journey as a player and as a coach too, I've had to I've had to pay dues. I've had to go through the process. I haven't been able to skip any steps or turn any corners to get to the level of establishment that I've gotten to at this point now. So for me, I can relate to them in that regard. So I'm able to. It's really I'm able to organically know what to say to get them going.
Okay.
I know it keeps me going. So after I got done playing, I had to again reprove myself as a coach. Being that the high school I was at wasn't the most competitive school. College was good, but then once I got into coaching, I'm back at my alma mater now, and I'm in Illinois, at least one of the best conferences in the state, trying to build a program. So I'm steady fighting every day to establish myself. So for them, it was the same process. So just remind them of how always keeping in perspective how hard they've worked to not let anything mess up what they put the work in for. Just constantly remind them of what they've went through and what they've learned. And then just giving them perspective that once they go into college now, they got to go through the cycle all over again. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. You got to start over.
They have to work to get to that point. I guess the term late bloomers, you know what I'm saying? So they just got to keep working. They don't have the, like the Navy team would have with a Gavin Keelan or Lippy, like these naturally physically gifted guys that got these outstanding tools. They have to work to get those tools. And they have to maintain it. They can't get content. So I just constantly remind them not to get content and stay humble because that's what got them to where they at.
Yeah.
So
sounds like you're fighting alongside them at the same time. So that's
Absolutely.
fantastic. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, it just meant a lot, man. My goal with them last year was we won one tournament in 15. We didn't win anything in 16. It was just trying to get back on the wall and try to get some more banners. You know what I'm saying? And kind of establish they part of this hitters legacy too. So that, like I said, just winning that big road meant everything, man, in more ways than one for me and for them. So
Yeah.
I still, from time to time, to this day, look at the video when they won and they ran out on the field and stuff. You know what I'm saying? It means just as much to me as it do to them.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's cool.
yeah, I love those dudes, man.
Yeah, that's great stuff.
So,
Well, thanks for sharing that, Travis. That's all I got
problem.
for you. So, yeah,
Thank you.
thanks a lot.
thank you.
Good. We good?